The fall season is upon us. The marigolds are ripe, the rhubarb, the leaves, the conestogas, the excitement of life is brimming all around us. And what I'm so excited to say is tomorrow I turn 36 and was in a very different place 4 years ago that really defined me and so much of my perspective. And ultimately, I didn't let doctors diagnose me and put a label on me to limit me. I didn't consent to it. I didn't drop a knee when I got a summons because I spoke at a rally either. And ultimately, I didn't agree to put on a mask or compromise my health in order to maintain a position either on the front lines where I got danger pay because I went to work each day. It was crazy. To believe that the war came so close to home, I was on the front lines and didn't even know it because it was a different kind of weaponry being used against us, the masses. So yeah, 4 years ago I had no idea about the energetics I was tuning into or the context for some of what I had started to notice and didn't know how to place. And now I know how to better put words onto it. So that's what I'm doing as best as I can in these little snippets and series. Each week I'm going to release them as best as I can. So tomorrow, on my 36th birthday, will be when this one comes out. And I am looking forward to the next one because in this one I was interviewing Stephane Deschenes at Bare Oaks Naturist Resort. And this week I've got some incredible things happening with it being my birthday and the launch of mastermind groups, events in Cortland, at Soul's Path, other places too. We have so many opportunities to connect coming up as Peaceful Inner Warriors unite and untie our identities from the matrix. We're matrix because she thinks she's doing the right thing until she finds out there's a better way and then can change her ways if she wishes to, and if not, well then, who do you blame but who? I don't know. The who would be a good place to start, I guess. But yeah, 3 minutes was all I wanted to do this message in, so I could say, let the birthday festivities begin.
A bullseye.
What is it that appeals to me about the target and the bullseye?
Yeah.
Because X marks the spot. And Stephane Deschenes and I are here at Bare Oaks Family Naturist Resort.
Naturist Resort.
Which is different from a nudist resort. How?
Well, is it different? People use the words differently. It may not be different. It depends how you define it. But I like naturist because this is our natural self.
Our natural self, bullseye! Come out and be naked with other people who are willing to do the same and talk about all of the constructs that make us think that we're talking about different things when the reality is we're really all talking about the same thing using different words and feeling uncomfortable because we just don't feel heard. So let's change that. Boom! Seth Godin, I met him in 2017 when I served as president of the JMT's assistant for the event, and Seth was one of the speakers, and so he ended up giving me this book and he signed it to say the work matters. And so Seth, I so appreciated him for doing that because ultimately it is going to prove valuable moving forward, I believe, as we move out of the shadows into the light and come together and realize that it's always your turn. So we must just do what is required and be the modern day suffragettes without suffering what we get because of the belief systems that we have held that may or may not have been serving us. Bravery and courage are for other people. It's entirely possible that you are physically able to be a thoroughbreds jockey or lead a battalion into battle,
or work the night shift as a cop. These are risky and difficult jobs, and they require bravery. And it's more than likely that there are tasks you're avoiding doing because they require significant emotional labor and the ability to overcome perceived risk. They're not physically dangerous, but they require courage nonetheless. It's easy to use words like bravery and courage because they pigeonhole the work. It's work for the brave and for the courageous, not for us. By labeling yourself as not quite brave or almost but not yet courageous, you let yourself off the hook. It's a label, and it's a label for other people, people who are in a better place than you are, apparently. Getting off the broken escalator requires neither bravery nor courage. It's not risky. It merely appears to be risky. It's not asking you to be a brave person or a courageous person. I'm not pushing you to be some sort of creative genius when you believe you're actually not. No, the opportunity lies in really seeing what's actually happening. False perceptions leading to a cycle of fear that's baseless. You don't need a permit or a blessing or any sort of permission to decide to take your turn. You only have to open your eyes and look, and then choose.
In my recently published book, Fully Committed, The Sacred Sojourn of Now, I say I am an empowerment coach with an alternative approach and quite the tale to tell about how I recognize the pattern, more commonly called a habit, of placing my power outside of myself, which led me into the Mental Health Act that I believe could fast become the Health Act if we fail to get clear on where we stand within the hierarchy of creation now, before the next push or wave of fear-mongering that will come. But need not worry us, for worry is like a rocking chair, and if we know who and whose we are, our boat will stay afloat despite the agendas at play to disturb our peace. I am also the founder of Peaceful Inner Warriors United and untied from the matrix where matrix without meaning to, because she bought lies she didn't even realize her identity was tied to, with the authority she let tell her who and whose she belonged to and wanted to, for the highest status wins in this here game, and our souls are the real currency on the line. Whether that be the timeline of our lifeline or the death line we're being trolled by in a con for our consciousness that will try to get us to buy the lies hook, line, and sinker without liability, I believe it is time to disqualify everyone from the public lie ability the legal fiction have granted all who buy in and then have to swear an oath of allegiance to the bar society they have to limbo under in order to stay relevant, which often drives the men and women acting to the bar to wash down the toxicity of playing with and representing the devil, while the ones on the line for crimes that have no victim, which by common law standards means there was no crime, pay with their lives for being real as an implied surety for a person they've been convinced they are. I go into all of this deeper in my book because it took me getting locked up under the modern day witch hunt, legalized and normalized as the Mental Health Act, to realize that if you don't know your rights, you don't have the rights you thought you did. But when my person got summoned for speaking at a rally in 2021, I discovered that if you don't claim your rights, you don't have anything to stand on in a corrupted system that is lacking in responsibility, accountability, and liability for the men and women wearing suits of protection in the form of titles, statuses, and personages that change the original into something other than we truly are for the sake of converting us into a lesser thing we believe ourselves to be. I have been using lawful notices to address an implied charge against my person that I have claimed the right to not be an implied surety for, nor do I believe de facto law applies to me, as I now know that the common law is unwritten and unlimited and can be pulled from any time a right I claim is violated, and the same is true for you. Having claimed the right to lawfully self-govern last year via the lawful notices that have been ignored as best as the men and women acting on behalf of the Provincial Offences Act and related corporate bodies have been able to do to date, the trial I have on October 31st, 2022, for speaking as a woman in my private capacity with all common law rights reserved at all times is fraudulent, and the ones moving it forward are liable responsible, and accountable for causing harm, loss, and fraud against a woman who has taken all the suits of protection off the men and women I can see. And I am willing to stand naked as I am to ensure my name is cleared, and the ones acting in bad faith pay for their choices, as our souls will do in the end anyway. I believe we have let religions divide us as a part of a devious plan we didn't know we were playing our part in perfectly, which is why I correct my status as an empowerment coach, author, and founder of Peaceful Inner Warriors United to instead say I am the woman who wrote a book on how I learned to break the spell we've all been under, with the words I don't believe we can throw around as if they're not worth their weight in gold, as we are who are born, not birthed, any longer than we already have, and who uses my coach training to guide people on the journey inward, which I call the sacred sojourn of the soul that we are all walking as we transform our personal and collective identities and become the author of a life worth living. No longer turning to authority figures who pose and pretend to have power while they're paid to fulfill orders they may or may not realize or care about the harm their actions are causing others. Liability protection, the ability to lie, has diluted our conscience, so the paycheck has trumped the harm caused by fulfilling the orders behind it. But I have heard that evil can only prevail when good men and women do nothing because they thought someone else was going to do for them what only we can do for ourselves. Taking a stand without the suits of protection or statuses that alter the original. As men and women born in the likeness and image of the Creator we all come from and return to and feel separated from others for differing hue and BS, belief systems, in the meantime, is how we do it. Fully Committed, the sacred sojourn of now, paints a fuller picture and covers some crazy ground in the process. So let's do it together as we gather in common unity and see that we have become divided within ourselves. And that is how the divide and conquer war strategy laid out in Event 201 was meant to play out. These acts are crap, and we don't have to play in pools where color of law or color of right have tainted the waters we're collectively swimming in any longer. Dare I say doing so is dangerous, and we've already been warned, for that is how black magic works. The rules and plan must be laid out plainly, so it can be said we were warned before we lost our lives as a result of gambling with dishonest characters. And in the process, we've put our souls on a sketchy line. Make claims via lawful notices. Take names. And let's stand as originals who call for responsibility, accountability, and liability without the extra E for the energy we've been using against ourselves until now. We can turn this ship around, and we will, because we choose to do it now together. So let's do it, as men and women, for who else is truly real in this life. There we go. So my friends, that was the video that I wanted to make because I was going to do it on my own in as many takes as it took. And then I thought, hey, it'd be great to see some of my friends. And so I'm so glad that I did. And I appreciate you for jumping on at whatever point you did too. And I very much do look forward to hearing what this message meant to you, for you, and what you're going to do with it. As I always say, it is your action that changes the way you know things into having lived them. And that is how you then become the wisdom, or you gain the wisdom and become the wizard that you came here to be, as the individuated expression of the grand overall designer, creator of all that is. Until then, we created government and other corporate bodies that made things they then converted us into in order for us to fall under their jurisdiction. Juris being of right or of law, and diction being what is spoke or wrote. For corporations, the corpse that orates the truth and leads to profits when we could be the prophets of our own lives. You see, the F versus the PH. You're in the PhD of life. You just don't get the degree until the very end. And then you say, oh, that was nice. But you're no longer in the flesh to see how nice it could be if you don't take responsibility for creating the life you came here to lead. I hope you will. I send you love.
Peace. Be blessed. Love it, Jay. Namaste. Namako. Oh, I just want to show you Papa Bob. He's shaving. So, this is my world as of October 2nd, 2023.
It's going to be a great day. Tomorrow's the trial when we will get to see how corrupted the system truly is, or if the man and woman acting want to actually not lose the freedoms that they have gained by acting for the corpse for as long as they have, thinking they're not liable. Well, that's bull and BS, and I'll call them on it if they try to keep me from living the life I'm here to lead, as the one who chooses to create the beauty in my environment, not because I had anything to do with this, but because I came out to find it. That's literally what it's all about. Just look for the rainbows after the storms. My God, look at the beauty of that. Oh, wow. We can do this, guys. Ladies, gentlemen, men, women, we must take a stand together and remember, it truly is our common lands that we must stand together and defend, or our children, whether we have them ourselves or we have responsibility to protect the ones who came through others. They are the ones that we must protect these lands for. So may this inspire you to do more than what you may have thought you could before, because no one gave you permission. They never will. It is permission that we are paid in karma and in time, for that is the 86,400 lottery. We win every day until we don't. So either we get in a rut and we stop living before it is our time, or we just choose to keep finding the beauty in the environment that we have a responsibility to protect and defend, as the ones who are on the modern day front lines without that going to war. The antennas who must tune into frequencies that we trust.
Yay! Okay, hey, Stephane Deschenes and Laura J back at Bear Oaks for the second part of an interview I'm stoked to be able to do with you. Thank you for being willing to speak the truth and shine light on a sensitive issue.
Oh, there's a light too. Look at that light.
Yes, which is actually the matter of the trans agenda that is currently at play.
That is so bright. You can't see your face.
Well, I think it's perfect.
Do you?
Considering we
there you go.
are the ones that are ultimately shedding light on the truth, which is where we're the ones that are
there is an aura around you
to be able to do so. So basically the trans movement is where people are being encouraged to mutilate themselves in order to get to express one aspect of their whole self, from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it would be really interesting and poignant to come to a naturist resort where people are paying to be themselves and have their flesh bare and exposed to the elements and in their natural state without imposition. And the labels of gender don't really matter, because even your bathroom has a man sitting on a toilet, right?
Oh, it's not a man, it's a person.
Oh, a person. Well, a person is a fiction anyway.
Yes, but there's no gender. You can't tell gender from that icon.
No, it's a first, second, or third person pronoun.
There's no icon. Like there's no skirt or pants
I'm glad
on
no
it.
one's being conned.
No.
The icon.
So,
Icon and I can't do what is the question. Carry on.
So, yes, here nobody ever has to identify their gender.
Right.
I mean, your gender may be in some way obvious because you can see all of the physical attributes which we usually identify with gender.
Mm-hmm.
But is your gender what's between your legs or on your chest? Or is your gender what's in your mind? And what's the difference? And why does it matter so much? Why is it so important in society? Here, you never have to specifically identify your gender. There are toilets, and the icon is a toilet, not a man and a woman. I don't understand. When you open the door, there's not a man and a woman behind the door, there's a toilet. So that's
and
what the picture is.
Yeah.
There's a shower. That's the picture for behind the shower. So you never have to identify your gender, because if you're not wearing clothes, really, what are we hiding from? You know what? Ourselves, yes, exactly. So when you're not wearing clothes, we don't hide from ourselves anymore. We accept who we are and how we are. We don't ask you your gender when you come in here.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's something that you want to identify. We've had lots of trans people who come here. Lots. We've had several. I don't know if it's what lots is, on staff and as members, and it was an interesting experiment for them because they had to decide how much of their identity is their gender and how much of the gender is based on their physical attributes.
Right.
So you're blue-eyed, I'm brown-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go into separate rooms to go to the toilet or take a shower because of our eye color.
Right.
Why should we? Because of our nipples, breasts, anatomy, whatever it is.
If you pee on the toilet, it's a real big piss off. Get it?
Yes.
Ha ha ha! Just kidding.
And yeah, I mean, so it's the same thing. You know, what most people want is a little bit of privacy when they go to the bathroom and use the toilet.
Yeah, privacy for your privates.
Exactly, and we have that. There's a door.
Right.
You don't have to do it with everybody else. But your gender shouldn't matter that much. And so I wonder, all of these things, I totally agree. I understand. I'm a man. I understand the privilege that comes with that. I understand how it's a different experience from you, who is clearly by society identified as a woman, and changes your role and the risks you face in the world as a result. It's not right, but that's the way it is. I understand that. So I understand how people may not feel comfortable with one gender or the other, but I'd like that people wouldn't have to specifically choose X or Y or A and B or whatever it is.
I thought those were the chromosomes. X and Y.
Well, they are the chromosomes.
And blood types.
Yeah, your
A
blood
and B?
types, exactly.
Oh.
But you have to choose male or female. And I don't think you should have to choose. I think I think you said it earlier. It's a scale, right? It's I have a lot of feminine qualities. You said you have some masculine qualities.
Absolutely.
Those are interesting. That's what makes us who we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, why is that? I understand its importance in the outside world, but I'd like this to be a place where it's not as important. I'd like this to be a place where you can just be you. Because we talked about bodies being unique.
Right.
Sometimes people talk about naturism and they say that your flaws don't matter.
Okay.
And I don't like that. They're not flaws. They're just the way who you are. Your body is a story.
Yeah.
It's a story from the day you're born to today.
Yeah.
It tells a story of who you are.
Yeah.
You know, scars and stretch marks and things like that is part of your stories. They're like tattoos that tell your stories.
Right.
You should be proud of them. You should be happy to talk about them. Maybe there was a difficult time of life or an interesting time of life or whatever it is. You can't see it. I have a big scar in my head from when I had a brain operation. I don't have a problem with that.
Really?
Yeah.
When was that, if you don't mind?
That was a few years ago. I had a subdural hematoma, and they had to drill a hole to take the blood out.
Oh my Lord.
And I think I'm okay most of the time. Am I okay? Does that seem okay? Yeah.
I haven't noticed anything.
The funny part is the neurosurgeon said after, you seem fine, everything else, let us know if there's a problem. And I said, you want me to use my brain
That's
to tell you
reassuring.
if my brain is okay?
Right?
It seems like flawed, like you should
Yeah.
use the instrument to measure itself.
Chicken or egg.
Yeah, but anyway, so. But anyway,
Yeah.
your body is unique. It is who you are. It is your life story. It is your identity.
Yeah.
As you get older, it tells more and more of your life story.
Yeah.
It's not a flaw.
No.
And this is the biggest challenge, is this idea that there's a perfect body, an ideal,
Right.
something you should strive
Yeah.
to be. Why? You should be healthy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You should work to be healthy.
Yeah.
Health is important. You want to live a long life. You should take care of this wonderful machine,
Yeah, the
that,
vessel.
the vessel that you
Yeah,
are,
absolutely.
that is so incredibly well built for this environment, right? That's why
Yeah.
you shouldn't wear clothes because unless you need it for protection, because it's cold or something, or warm, or you're in a dangerous environment.
Right.
You should, other than that, let your body work with itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes a much broader range of temperatures than we normally deal with, right? Because normally, as soon as it's like 1 or 2 degrees in either directions, we put on clothes, or we turn on air
Absolutely,
conditioning, or
yeah.
turn up the heat.
On and off, on and off, on and off.
Our bodies are designed to handle a
Self-regulate.
lot. Self-regulate, but we've lost that. We've lost self-regulation.
Do you want to know when you lose even more of it?
When?
When you do something stupid, like I did when I was 15, and self-mutilated out of a psychological issue.
Oh my! What did you do?
So I got my sweat glands removed when
Oh,
I was
wow.
15, and I basically had diamond chunks of skin cut out from underneath each of my armpits so that I would not sweat, because I had someone I respected who was a relative and older than me, and also had the same issue and was insecure about it, and knew a lot of people from the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a country girl from a farming family. And I went to university when I was 17, but at this point I'm only 15. And he tells me that OHIP will pay for this procedure to have your sweat glands removed, like he had a friend apparently do. And it would stop me from sweating, and I would just be in and out and done and dusted. And so I thought that was how it was going to go. And I presumed that I sweat more because I had like enlarged sweat glands. So I was thinking like it was like kind of like removing a gland. I didn't understand that we have sweat glands underneath of the entire organ of the skin, which is the largest organ on the body. So like there are sweat glands all underneath of your armpits, which is the primary detox zone, and my machine, the vessel that I carry my soul in, is a very high functioning machine that needs a lot of self-regulation. And I didn't know this. So I listened to the bad advice, which did add vice to my life, because I got the doctor's appointment scheduled and then the specialist appointment scheduled, and the doctor said, or the surgeon said, you know, you're gonna have big scars from this, eh? And I was like, yeah, but like I'm envisioning like a little like enlarged gland, so like, okay, yeah, I can like withstand something like that big. But no, instead they took out double that and then stitched it back together, which is why it's ropey at the bottom.
Wow.
So I don't regulate my body temperature the way that I did when I was whole and complete before I mutilated myself. I still sweat, and I also have big scars and have for 20 years now.
I'm glad you can tell the story. See, that's the thing about Naturism. It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Something about you and your past and where you came from, and something for other people to learn about through your story too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
Well,
that's great.
Thank you. And I think that it's very relevant in terms of the story to the story that trans people who actually pursue the hormonal manipulation that forever changes and alters their chemistry, as well as physical modifications, such as what I did with my sweat glands, except for with breasts or penises or vaginas that then are changed and don't work the same way once you have scar tissue on them, just like our hearts when we have emotional scar tissue. And we're so walled up and blocked up, we can't let the walls down in order to connect because there's too much emotional scar tissue to get through.
Well, but I understand how in the mainstream world out there, people would want to have those operations, because who you are from a gender standpoint is so tied to those physical attributes. And I understand how you might not want to have to be sweaty, because, oh Lord, how embarrassing if you have
Absolutely
sweat marks under your arms.
humiliating.
And that's society.
That was what I thought. I don't anymore
and
so
that's
much.
what society does. I'm not I don't blame anybody for going through that. I understand that. My question is, and people, so there was one trans man who was here who decided after working here for a summer to have his breasts removed, so he would have a flat chest, but not to have genital surgery. Because the problem is, in the mainstream world, while he was accepted as he was here, even with breasts, in the mainstream world, that showing through your shirt affects how people perceive you and how perceive your gender. So if you want to be perceived more masculine, then that's what you have to do. Would that be important in a world where gender is just the same as eye color and hair color? I don't know. We're not there, and it's a difficult thing to theorize, and you can't blame people who live out there and from feeling that pressure to have to go through that, like you did, right?
Yeah.
And you know what else is interesting about sweat glands? We are the sweatiest creatures on the planet.
That's because we're
Sweatiest
detoxing
animals.
so much crap from our system, maybe.
No, it's because we have the most powerful cooling system of any animal. That's why we don't have fur.
Right.
Because we can sweat a liter of water an hour.
Oh my
It's
God.
enormous.
Wow.
Which allows us to run forever.
Wow.
Now, we are not in shape to run forever,
No.
most of us, so we can't do it. But we can run, and we never overheat. And
Right.
that's something we must have evolved over time as a strength. So a lot of animals can run faster than us for short periods of time, but we can run forever. And we used to hunt with subsistence hunting, where we would tire animals until they collapsed from heat stroke on the savannah of Africa, because we had this incredibly powerful cooling engine, which allows our brain to be as big as it was, or as it is. We have a much bigger brain for the size of animal that we are than any other mammal. And it's because this brain can make the equivalent of a 40-watt light bulb in heat, 40-watt traditional light bulb in heat, in a closed space. And without an incredible cooling system, we would get heat stroke and get brain damage.
Oh, wow.
So sweating is our superpower.
Superpower! And I cut mine out.
Be proud of the fact we can sweat. Be proud of this
Right?
incredible body we have
Yeah.
that allows us. Because sweating, right now it's hot, right? It's really hot here and humid.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I'm really close to you, and I don't smell you. Do you smell me?
No.
No, we're sweating.
Yeah.
Why can't we smell each
Not
other?
very much.
You can smell me?
No.
Not really. I have
My
pretty
nose
good
is
sense
a
of
bit
smell.
stuffed
Well,
right
yeah,
now.
I have pretty good sense. Because when you're not wearing clothes, sweat evaporates. What
Yeah.
makes sweat smelly is clothing.
Right, yeah.
It stays
Of
in
course.
clothing, it stays wet,
Yeah.
and bacteria grows. You want to grow bacteria? A dark, warm, moist environment. That's
Yeah.
the best place to grow
Clothes.
bacteria, and that's what smells.
Yeah.
Clothing makes you smelly.
Interesting, yeah.
Your body is designed to sweat and evaporate and cool down.
Yeah. So my insecurity interfered with my ability to self-regulate my body for the rest of my life. And I don't want others who are confused, because there is a lot of identity that comes with gender, which is the genre of identity that we perform and then invite other entities in with those one-dimensional boxes we check, which are the labels. So I go pretty high level and deep into a lot of things, and I am really wanting to be more relatable, but also help people see that when I talk about trans and ask questions and challenge constructs and concepts, I want to be very clear that it is not an attack on someone that identifies in such a way. It is simply to say that maybe not 100% of anything is pure. In terms of belief is always channeled through the hands of the men and women writing those bills, codes, codexes, mandates, the legislation, ideologies. It's all filtered through us who are meant to be the conscience of the courts, the crown, and also the councils, that we have lost touch with because we've gotten so vested in our own lives and then the business that we have to do in order to provide for ourselves and those that we love within our own private lives. Which is why this community itself is a private community that happens to be owned by yourself and your wife.
Yes.
And you took it over because you frequented here previously, were part of the lifestyle, and decided to take on the adventure of being a community organizer of an established location. And you have an entrepreneurial mind with great business sense. So you saw the opportunity and you seized the day.
Oh yeah, but it was never about money. I knew I could make it a successful business, and I'm working on that.
Yeah.
And so far, after 17 years, we're not making any money, but that's because we reinvest in growing and expanding all the time. But it is successful in lots of ways. But that's not the objective. We heal people.
Yes, precisely.
It's therapy, and I wanted as many people as possible to experience that. Bless you.
Me.
Bless you.
Oh, bless me. Bless you. Bless you.
So I wanted as many people to experience that as possible, which means growing as big as possible and as successful.
Absolutely.
And you need money to do that.
Yes.
Because the world we built we were having such parking problems. We built a new parking lot over there.
Oh, fabulous.
75 cars.
Oh, wow.
And that was over $100,000. You have to have money to do that.
Yeah, precisely.
So, but yeah. But you know, these social constructs, they are interesting because there's so many rules one way or the other, which has always bothered me because I never felt I fit squarely in one or the other.
No, you're an artist.
Are you a man or a woman?
I'm a woman.
And why do you say you're a woman?
Well, because I have a vagina and breasts and
Is that what makes you a woman?
feminine flair, and that's what I've been called my whole life, so I fully identify with that construct.
Can I be a woman with a penis? Is that possible?
Did you get your period and have to go through
I did
leaking
not.
through
No, I did not.
pants because your pad wasn't big enough for
Can I be feminine?
Absolutely. But
So what's the difference?
feminine and woman are different constructs.
Right.
Feminine is an aspect and woman is the identity. It's just like human versus mankind.
So you can be a man and be feminine, you can be a woman and be masculine?
Absolutely. That's what we are all. At varying times, our personalities show up as characters and expressions of us based on masculine and feminine influences from within us.
Do you think I should be able to wear dresses if I want to?
If you wish to, do whatever pleases you. Just don't chop off your penis or in any way mutilate yourself.
Do I have to chop off my penis to wear a dress?
No, this is the point.
Is it? Okay. Huh?
Like, gender is the genre of drama we're performing with our section of belief. Systems, BS, sex, with sex of belief versus the sex we have with one another. You've never had gender with someone, have you?
No, I don't think so.
How do you gender with someone?
I
like,
don't think so.
do I go this way and like, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess in a way we're all playing gender roles all the time.
Gender.
We're all gendering with each other because we're playing.
Oh
we're supposed to be playing the
God.
roles, right? Isn't that what we do?
Well, we're the Gen X and the Gen Y and
Generation.
the Gen Z.
Yeah, yes,
so
that's
it's
true.
all the gens, actually, of the ders. Who's the der?
No, but that's the thing. Gender, there's physical gender, and you can call that sex, for example.
Right.
And there's biological gender, if you will, which is the same as physical gender. But also there's psychological, emotional gender, which I don't think is the same. I think that's where you can be feminine or masculine,
Right.
regardless of what your biology is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people should just be able to be, and I don't think you should anything should be forced upon you. I don't understand. I don't understand why we're forced to go into one little room and you have to decide, are you going in the men's room or the women's room? Why do we have those two rooms? What do you guys do in a women's room anyway? Is it very different from ours?
You want to know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't.
When you have to
you go in there, you change,
when
you
you-
have a shower,
yeah.
you
And
get your makeup on.
and when you go in the toilet, you sit on the toilet and you poop?
Sometimes,
Damn, that's what we do too.
right?
Same thing.
Do you put on makeup in yours?
No, well, some guys do.
True. Right?
Yeah. But they might.
Yeah.
And if they did it, that's okay.
Do you have a sauna in your bathroom?
Oh, yeah, and personal attendance. And
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic!
Oh, this is the other thing that kills me. Like, you go to places in North America and saunas are gender specific.
Oh,
And then
isn't that a bitch? Because then you want to go with the one that you're with, and
I
you're
know.
like, God, you got to
So
go in what?
Linda and I go to a place that has a sauna, and we can't have a sauna together. Like
No,
the
it's
sauna,
stupid. I
in
fully
Europe,
just- I
saunas
don't
are so
like that.
social. Here,
is,
saunas are so
yes.
social. You sit around
They are.
and you sit and you're feeling hot, especially in the winter, and you're just chatting and talking about life.
It's lovely.
Why does it have to be separate?
Because then it becomes a sanitary thing instead of a social thing.
Sanitary.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's the shift.
But
It's no
sometimes-
longer a social thing. Now
Like,
you're doing it for your health.
Sometimes you go into the men-only sauna, and they still tell you have to wear shorts. I know, right?
You're not telling me what to wear when I'm in a fucking private bathroom. Pardon my language.
Well, there's
but
another
there are
there's another man in there.
constraints. So
I know. So
he's got the same things as what you've got.
well, and the other funny part is, of course, we now recognize that there are people who prefer the same gender, right? People who are gay.
Yeah.
So if
Always
the
been
whole
that way.
right, of course, it's always been that way. But now we're very much. When I was younger, that was not something you talked about as much. But now it's very open and accepted, which is good. So if the whole idea of men and women is because of some sort of sexuality and gender attraction, then how do I, the two men in the room may be attracted to each other, so that whole idea is bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
Like, and so we're attracted to each other. Why is it that we have to have separate room? Are we actually going to jump each other? Are we
Because we can't
so
control
out of
ourselves.
Yeah, I know. That's the story, right?
Well, that's what, when you have a lawless society that's overlawed, then you can't have any outlaws because then they're outside of the laws.
So you're naked. We're both naked here, and
We have self-control
we
and
have-
respect
you're-
for
yeah,
ourselves
you're-
and one another and the community.
congratulations. You're managing to control yourself very well.
Well,
I'm glad
thank
you're
you.
not jumping on
It
me.
took
Thank you.
practice.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. Like you find people attractive even when they're wearing clothes. So what's the difference if we're naked or not? Like, what's the difference?
Social acceptability, vulnerability, determining of character based on what's being shown, the identity that comes from knowing others who share that same identity. Elements.
Yeah, and that's what we miss sometimes. We miss understanding each other because we are forced to separate ourselves so drastically, so dramatically based on some physical differences or some role or gender
Yeah,
mind
absolutely.
differences. Yeah, it really is. It's kind of, well, it used to be upsetting to me because I just did
Yeah.
not fit cleanly
Right.
in the male gender box.
Well, did you know back like 2015 or before that, I started a Facebook group called Where Misfits Fit, Home for Soulful
Oh.
Seekers?
There you go.
Because I didn't fit either.
Yeah.
I didn't like this whole misfit things. Well, it's just like, who's misfit? Like, I could be misfit, but I never got the title, so I never got the crown because someone else didn't bring it down for me because I needed to reach up and claim it for myself if I wanted to. So I just created the group, and then it's been slowly filling. And ultimately, that's the same thing as happens here because we find where we want to be. And with others who are doing that too, or something like what we feel at home with, and then we want to go back and belong with our people.
It's, yeah. You know what a lot of men have told me? They couldn't do this
Right.
because they couldn't control themselves.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. It's just like, well, being on a beach without a bathing suit versus on a beach with a bathing suit. Like, are you really going to get a boner just because, like, you see naked women and children
Well, maybe you do.
or men?
Maybe you do get a boner, but so that doesn't mean you're not doing anything. You don't.
You can just stick it between your legs.
Yeah, or you don't have to. You don't have to act.
Absolutely.
Like, there's not like this. Ah, no. Like what the hell?
That's
Like,
funny.
what does it mean you can't control yourself? Of course you can control yourself. I can hold my breath. I can
Yeah.
decide not to walk that way. I can decide not to do something. I can decide not to say something.
Yeah.
My brain is in charge. Are there people out there who have no control over their urges, their actions?
Well, we are living in a society, though, that where we bond over our traumas, our dramas, and our problems. So if you
Yeah.
can't control yourself and your urges, then you actually have a place to belong to with others who are dysfunctional and divergent too. So a lot of people are gaining identity.
You think some people can't control themselves?
They're choosing not to.
They're choosing. There you go.
They're choosing not to because
an
they gain
excuse.
identity from not
From
being able to.
They say, okay, they have a disease. or
If
whatever.
you're a victim, you have a place to go.
Yeah.
If you are just yourself, where do you go? There's only one you.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not talking. There are people who have some deep-set emotional trauma,
Yes.
and I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. But I don't think anybody has any trauma that gives them an excuse to grope women without their permission or attack people or
No.
whatever. I think that's a decision, and you can go and get help and you get control. Even if you have anger management problems,
Yeah.
you have the possibility to recognize that and deal with it. We have consciousness, we have awareness, and I'm sorry. And so coming here, to me, there's no excuse. There's no excuse that you can't control yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And honestly, that's a concern people have before they come here. It's not a concern people have once they're here.
Yeah, well, generally you exclude yourself if you would have an issue with that, or you come and then you get excluded because if you do have an issue with that, you're not welcome.
Yes, occasionally people will go around and they are inappropriate in what they say. Very rarely, if ever, are they inappropriate what they do, but what
Right.
they say.
Yeah.
But I still think that's a choice. I think they think that if they say something, they're going to get something or something's going to happen, which of course it doesn't. Well, that's not true. Something does happen, they get kicked out.
Yeah, right.
But that's all that happens, and probably they're kind of disappointed as a result. So,
Well, I'm grateful to not be getting kicked out, to have been invited, to have got to be part of this experience today. I'd like to do an interview in one other spot before we go this day, and then
Okay.
we've got a few to be able to share as an intro to Stephane Deschenes, Laura J, and the Bare Oaks experience, where there's going to be something exciting happening for those that do identify or are questioning your gender. I think it would be a great opportunity to come to a place like this where you can see for yourself what it's like to just be in your own body, regardless of how you want to express your gender or the way that you love others or yourself in this world. So I want that to happen here. I think this would be an amazing community to be able to invite people who are on the fence, that want to be able to talk to people that are real, that are not going to benefit from them choosing to mutilate or alter themselves or not, and ultimately can have a community either way, so that then it's not so attached to the outcome but the process that we can learn to enjoy.
there is no judgment here. You can come and question and discuss
Yeah.
and see question what society says about our bodies and who we are.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. How fun is this? Hello, Laura J with a bikini I've never worn before, and Stephane Deschenes beside me at Bare Oaks Family Naturist Resort. And it is an absolute pleasure to be here on this beautiful fall day, Stephane.
It's so nice. So nice.
Isn't it?
28 degrees today. It's beautiful. Why would anybody want to wear clothes?
Well, some people like to hide things and try to deny things, and culturally we have gotten a lot more attention if we have been willing to do what it takes to fit in and conform.
That's true. That's true. Society is cruel that way and not very accepting and not tolerant of people who won't pay attention to the rules, I guess.
Yes, but then it becomes a matter of whose rules, which is jurisdictional, which is kind of the law side of my passion and interest over the last few years that we can get into another time. But what I wanted to do while we still had this beautiful lighting and the scenery, and we're here together before I go home and you do what you're going to do after, which is to really talk about that transition between who we were and who we'll be after something happens.
That's an interesting idea.
So liminality
Okay.
is the world between worlds, the hallway in between life as we knew it and life as we'll know it. And we kind of came together because I wanted to interview you about the trans initiative or movement.
Right.
And so that's another transformation,
Right.
trans being the prefix added to words to fix it. The word is supposed to be fixed, and then the prefix goes before the fixed part of the word. And this is where the semantics comes in, and syntax, that is another one of my little strange oddities. But, you know, we've all got them, right?
Sure. We're all unique individuals.
Yeah.
Is that odd to be unique?
Is it?
I don't think so.
Is it?
It shouldn't be.
No.
It's what makes us interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So weird is actually a compliment.
Oh, for me it is, absolutely. My kids call me weird now. We said thank you.
Right? Well, I'm just going to pull out the
Oh, look at
little
that.
bit of cedar.
I got cedars in my mustache. Thank you for getting that. I was in a cedar bush trying to fix an electrical problem earlier.
Yeah, at a magical number as well that I won't repeat simply out of business courtesy. Yet it is a reflection of the fact that everything can mean something or nothing can mean anything. And it's going to have a huge impact on our attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to go back to the original reason as to why we came together in order to try different things and positions without having impositions put onto us, I think it would be a really great opportunity to have people see that you can be nude and naked and also not have the connotations that oftentimes come with being textile or not, and then what it means to be not wearing any clothes without that needing to become something sexual.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sexuality, but the two are not necessarily intrinsically linked, right?
Right.
Sexuality can be a beautiful thing, but people who are clothed get sexual urges, so therefore it's not nudity that's sexual, it's people.
People are the problem and the solution.
We've been tricked into thinking that nudity is sexuality, but it's not. It's
Right.
not. Because for 100 years, people have been living without clothes, and it hasn't been any more sexual. It's not asexual.
Yeah.
It's no more sexual than wearing clothes, and maybe sometimes a little bit less, because a lot of clothes is designed to be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Here you just be yourself, and
Yeah.
the sexuality comes from you.
Mm-hmm.
It's from a look and a thought and something you say to each other and a connection you have with each other,
Yeah.
not because you're teasing someone with a bikini or a G-string or something like that, right? You're just you.
Yeah. Well, this is what it is outside of this place also, except it's amplified when you don't have the extras. So then you only have to work with what you have, which is your personality, which are the personas, which are the masks of characters that we put on when we're expressing ourselves in a different way, such as what people who may be on the fence as to whether you identify with the trans movement.
Mm.
And so I was saying to Stephane, I would think it would be a really great opportunity for people who are on the fence, literally, where your gender identity is concerned, for you to actually come to a day where you could be with others who don't care about your sexual preferences at all. In fact, it's private interest and private business before then it becomes an affair when you invite a third party into a private dynamic. And so I want to come together to talk about some of these subtle nuances that I believe are part of a larger agenda that is not conspiracy theorist oriented, though some would say that it is, but even that whole rabbit hole of introducing conspiracy theorists is another component to this that's just not spoken, because whether it's trans, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's nudism or naturism, all of these labels of division, what did they say in a really popular book about a house divided?
A house divided cannot stand.
Oh, yes. So,
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of people will tell you what's right and wrong, and I think that's something you should decide for yourself and work on and discuss and be open about. And there's no, I respect all ideas, and I love to discuss ideas. You and I have not always agreed,
no.
and we can discuss them. And only through discussion do people learn and come to understand.
Yeah, in fact, that's part of the reason that I came back today. In addition to having that question and to also now have the opportunity to be able to invite people that I care about deeply, that I want to make sure are making an informed choice for themselves so they don't mutilate themselves in a way like I did when I was 15 and got my sweat glands under my armpits removed for a sweating insecurity that changed my body's ability to self-regulate. And then on the way over, we were talking about the fact that we are the only mammals that don't have fur.
Mhm.
And why is that, you said?
Because we're the sweatiest creatures on the planet, for a good reason. We have the most powerful cooling system, which gave us a tremendous advantage to survive and expand and get bigger brains so we can question and discuss these things. And when you're saying, mutilate yourself, you're not necessarily saying that people shouldn't make their choice to change if they want to change.
Yeah, no, but like I literally have big scars that weren't necessary, and now my breasts are showing. But anyway, it's not like we haven't all seen cleavage.
Breasts are okay. YouTube just doesn't care
It's
for
the
your
areola.
nipples and your
Okay.
areola show.
Okay.
But mine are okay, which is why those are showing, because for reasons we don't understand. See, gender is weird. Gender is so at the core of everything in society, and I think we make far too much of it. I think we need to sort of try to just be humans and be who we want to be, and not have to follow rules just because society says we have to be in a box.
Gender is the genre of drama that we're performing with our sex.
Yes.
And that's both sex with our biology as well as our sects, which is our belief system. So when we start to see the interplay of those sexes, then we see the X, Y, Z, A, B, C of genealogy and generations, and how fifth generational warfare makes the mental game the terrain that we all need to name, and then also proclaim the fact we don't need to fit in one box along a spectrum or line of boxes that we reflect all of, for they are all yet but hues and colors that ultimately make up the whole man instead of just an aspect of the man.
Right. Like you have blue eyes and I have brown eyes.
Precisely.
Do we need to be in a blue eye box and a brown eye box? And do I have to use a
God.
toilet for brown eyed people?
I certainly hope not.
Okay, good.
But when there are like 730 something gender identities to be able to choose from, like, isn't that a little bit overwhelming for the senses?
Well, I don't know that you have to choose. Just be who you want to be.
I like this answer. What is your answer? Please do leave a comment down below to let us know. And I will say for today, Laura J with Stephane Deschenes, here with Bear Oaks Family Resort. Peace. Okay, I can't. My arms are too short.
So the question is, it looks like my genitals, if I move my hand, you have to keep an eye, because
We gotta figure out how to get out of here.
I'm seeing that if I move my hand, the genitals may be showing. So you'll have to kind of keep an eye
my
so you don't
God.
get your YouTube video taken down.
Okay.
I should have stood this way. Oh no, it's still not okay.
Your-
See, that's the difference
your
between
head's a little
height
low.
and my head's, yeah.
your two heads are too extreme. All right.
I should have done, then you would have looked taller than me,
All right.
or done this.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny.
And so we round it out the way we began and say that if we stand together at live events, we get to know one another in a way we wouldn't if we didn't go. So I want to invite you to come to some of the live events that we've got coming up. You can get the details at ljeh.ca. And please know there are communities around you who want to support you in being your authentic self. To be truly a peaceful inner warrior, united and untied from the matrix where Ma doesn't trick anymore, because now we point out the word spells that we've been tricked by. So now we can turn a new trick together.